So, a very warm good evening to everyone present out here. It's been very long time I've taken a stage. It's been almost 3 years, and we know it's a long weekend, and many of you would have missed your Sundays with your family and planning to spend this time in this event. We essentially thank for that. I have to attend this event for sure because my spouse is heading this overall event and Colentra Global. I cannot escape from the event. So thanks for being here. So I am here to speak about one of the interesting topics, why startup incubators are essential for success of early stage startups. I could see many budding entrepreneurs out here. I will just try to share my experience, what I have undergone in the past almost 6.5 years, because I have been in both the sides in the sense I've been a student researcher for almost 3 years, and then I've been in industry for almost 3 years, and then now I'm into startup incubation and ecosystem for almost 3 years. So it's been a 9-year journey for me. So in terms of incubation and helping startups, I'm observing two different types of startup founders. So I will give you an analogy for you to better connect and relate. So I hope everyone would have seen this movie of Tom Cruise, The Maverick, right? So there is a very popular saying where when the hero, the protagonist character is being introduced, it like there's a popular phrase called as it's not the aircraft, it's the pilot who rides the aircraft. So it's a very powerful statement. So now here I'm just trying to give you the two different types of startups that I'm observing. One, the startup founder who is very passionate, professional, and want to change the status quo. He like more skillful pilot, I would say. Most of the early stage startup founders are very skillful pilots. And on the other end, uh, what is more equally important, other than the pilot, is the aircraft's uh, what I can say, the control panel, what they call the pit of the aircraft. There are founders who focus on the pit of the aircraft, the indicators, the process, the procedures, and other things. These are the two distinguished types. And here, the aircraft, I mean, is the company as a whole, the startup. When a early stage startup founder starts the company, they only focus on how to somehow travel a certain distance, and with a very limited fuel and everything, they wanted to successfully reach destination. But when in terms of long run, the indicators matters the most, because in the early phase, startup founders, they are very aspirational. The one important point they miss out is primarily they are trying to make something good for the society or the customers, but they don't really know whether there is a meaningful market out there or not. So that's where the very important terminology called product market fit comes into existence. How to understand whether someone will buy your product or not is the primary part that any startup founder should know. That's where incubators play a major role, because incubators try to push the startup during the incubation phase to do activities like customer discovery, try to sit with your customer, know their pain points, and then give your offerings to bridge the product market fit. Because it is the early phase where you can easily pivot to a next idea if your original one doesn't work out in the market. So product market fit is very important. Moving on to the second type of founders that I told in terms of managing the cockpit of the aircraft. So these are all more traditional guys. They want consistency over something dramatic change in the existing process. You can see founders coming from a very corporate background or very long experience. They tend to fix the system first. Then only they enter into the actual action, but that would also have certain flaws. The flaw here is the system will continue to produce exactly the same results what it has does in the previous year. So the improvement or the percentage of change will be very less in that type of system. So in order to someone in that space, in the corporate space, if they are entering into the startup ecosystem, they need to develop this entrepreneurial mindset in order to change their way of operations. So in terms of the early stage, product market fit is very important. When someone who is very experienced trying to enter into the corporate, from the corporate to the startup ecosystem, they focus on the process part. So here I will just give you a quick masterclass on how to get your customers, especially attracted during your early phase of your startup journey. So there is a concept called value proposition. So what you are offering to the customer, they should feel the value of the solution that you are trying to offer. So this is a phase where startup doesn't know how to explain, because majority of the startup founders, either they come from the technology background, they try to beat about the bush on how superior the technology is, how functionally superior over the previous version or existing product in the market. Well, because Jagan was also highlighting in his thing, being a cutting edge AI tool, how it is difficult for him to address the pediatric population and other things. So here, people find it easy when these values are converted into monetary figures. I mean the rupees part. Okay, this called the value proposition, getting a shape where everyone can understand. You can the number speaks a lot. The two rupees speaks to all the stakeholders, like the government, your customer, user, your board of directors. Everyone can understand this number. So how to explain the value proposition in a better way? When it comes to value proposition, it's a combination of two elements. One is the cost saving aspect, another is the revenue generation potential. These two things are the only, any solution, any startup, right from Google to Amazon, Airbnb, like whatever, Tesla, all the startups when they started, they will be addressing these two factors. One is the cost saving factors, another is the revenue generation factors. So now you will ask me how I can present my startup in both this way. Revenue generation is very easy to understand, so I'll park it for the second thing. Firstly, I will explain you on the cost saving aspect. How to explain your customers like your solution will save the cost. In order to explain that, you can take two approaches. First approach is that you should project the cost of consequences. What is cost of consequences? If at all your customer is not using the solution, what risk they are going to face, what monetary losses they are going to face, you need to project that. For example, you are developing MedTech early diagnostic solutions in your space. If the customer is not procuring a solution, what will be the end result for him? For example, if you are developing an hearing based diagnostic solution and the customer is not diagnosed in the early phase, it will probably lead to deafness or loss of hearing, due to which cannot assign the monetary value. The hearing is very important, right? So that part you can project. So this is cost of consequences. Second part, cost of alternate solution. Definitely, we will not bring solutions from the moon, right? You are trying to pitch a product, which is most of the time, most of the startups pitch a product which is functionally superior, or it will address a unique needs which previous products didn't address. So you take that reference product, because most of the time startup tend to quote low, but the market is willing to offer them higher price. That time you should look at what product is actually existing as a replacement to your solution and try to pitch that cost, equalize that, or slightly offer below, so that early customers will come in. If the solution is great, then you will have very good traction going forward. So this is on the cost saving part, very easy to explain. Cost of consequences and cost of alternate solution. Now coming on to the revenue generation part. When it comes to revenue generation aspects, two things are very much important. One is ability to generate additional revenue. Additional revenue in the sense, example, you are developing an CRM system for a popular hospital, healthcare solution you are building in. If currently the hospital requires, example, 50 different staffs to operate the hospital functionally for 1 or 2 months. if your CRM could reduce it by 30 numbers. So this delta between this 50 and 30, no, this 20 is actually the additional revenue you are generating to the management, which can be projected. So this is the additional revenue. On top of it, the second way where you can project the revenue is creating a new revenue stream by itself. For example, the startups, like I've seen one particular MedTech startup, his name is called Abaya Tech. So he is having a real-time monitoring of ECG heart signals. He's doing that. Previously, hospitals used to what they will do, no? They will write a prescription, and nearby scan centers will do the diagnostics and generate the report. What he has done is, for the hospital, he has given a solution where the hospital nurses can fit that particular patch onto the patient, and for every report generated, the hospital will get the money. So here, the diagnostic revenue is also taken into the hospital's budget. So you are generating a new revenue stream for the hospital, right? So these are the very simple ways as a founder or early stage founder. If you are very difficult to understand or explain your customer how your product will help them, remember these two things: cost saving and revenue generation aspect. These two things you need to focus. If cost of alternate didn't work for you, then try cost of consequences. If you have both the things, then it's like double dhamaka for your product. So revenue generation, it's either improvement in the existing revenue or generating a new revenue stream. So this is how you need to sell a product. So now coming on to the aircraft analogy, you can ask me where exactly professionals like me representing the incubator ecosystems stand. So basically we are the control office, where in the airport you see, no, a lot of control offices will be there. They will give the final clearance for the aircraft to take off. We make sure the aircraft take off successfully, and it like we also ensure that the aircraft stays in air for a longer period of time, not fall in a very short span. So that's the role of incubator in a nutshell. So as a professional, incubation professional, what we generally do is we ensure whether the pilot is trained to drive that particular vehicle. First part, the mentoring and training comes into picture. Only after he is having the enough skills to take off the aircraft, we allow him to sit in the cockpit. We will not then allow. So then comes the cockpit aspect. Cockpit aspect is majority of founders, they will not worry or think about it. Cockpit, we call it as your board meetings, monthly board meetings. There are many indicators as a founder you need to regularly keep in check. Financial aspects, business aspects, human resource aspects, and all these things. You should carefully watch all your cash flows, profit and loss accounts. Make sure your team is intact, your mission is translated in the team, no members are walking away, all these things. And you should also carefully fix your sales funnel. Who is your prospector, or like who will be converting as a customer, all these things. These indicators become the cockpit. Someone who is in the field, or professionals like people working like Manon Mani, like in Excel technology, they have very beautiful cockpit. They have lakhs of employees to create the dashboards and everything. But as a startup founder, you will be the single person. You need to be the driver. You need to like inject the fuel. You need to take care of the aircraft, maintain the aircraft for the flight. Everything you need to take care. So that time, apart from focusing on technology, you should also give a good focus on the compliance side. And top of it, here the fuel is the money part. That's where people like Gayatri comes into a picture. Government, EDI schemes, and many startup TN, IT&T, many such firms are there, and they give enough funding for early stage entrepreneurs just to take off. Then it's your call. There are multiple rounds of investments which your founder and the incubation center has to guide you, like first pre-seed, series A, so that your aircraft remains a long part. And so the landing, what we call it, what for startups, it can be a successful acquisition by a very big firm, or you are merging with an existing firm, or you are doing a brilliant exit from your firm, like you are handing it over to the next companies. So this exit part is the landing phase. So as an incubator and professionals like academicians sitting here, Dr. Balaji, taking care of innovation entrepreneurship as a dean research in SRM, we people are here to support the startups and the pilot, make sure the cockpit is ready and the aircraft is large enough to onboard many new team members. Because you are now 3-4 members, you need to expand to 50. 500, 50,000, all such things, the aircraft has to withstand. It should not collapse. We make sure all these things are in place. That's why ecosystem enabler like me and people sitting out here are here to support you guys. If you have some questions, please park it. We will have the panel discussion. That time I will take all your questions, and I will also try to ask some of your questions that you might have in your mind. Some of you might be conscious or anxious to ask in the public platform. I have noted few questions from my side based on their speeches. I'll try to speak to them. I hope you got some insights out of this keynote. Thanks, Quelentra team, for inviting me for this brilliant opportunity. Looking forward for the upcoming sessions as well. Thank you.